أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ضربت عليهم الذلة أينما ثقفوا إلا بحبل من الله وحبل من الناس وباءوا بغضب من الله سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم ضربت عليهم الذلة and disgrace has been stamped over them. Aynama suqifu, wherever they are found. Illa bihablim min Allah, except when they are saved through a source from Allah. Wahablim min nas, and through a source from men. وَبَاءُوا بِغَضَبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ, and they have returned with anger from Allah. وَبَاءُوا بِغَضَبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَضُرِبَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَسْكَنَةُ, and misery has been stamped over them. In this ayah, Allah is talking about some people whom Allah is saying that they have been disgraced, misery has been stamped over them, and Allah's anger is on them. These are the three things Allah is mentioning, right? There's some nations, some people that Allah is saying that disgrace is on them wherever they will go, right? The second thing Allah Ta'ala says, Allah's anger is on them. The third thing Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says that they have misery, right? Disgrace is one thing and misery is other thing. Disgrace means that people think of you as very low. Misery is when you have financial problems, right? So they will have Allah's anger, they will be disgraced, and number three is they will have, financial problems, misery, right? Not being able to meet the ends. Who are these people that Allah is so upset about? And the Mufassirin have said that these are the Jews that Allah is talking about. And then Allah Ta'ala says, in the next part of the ayah, why Allah is saying all these things. What have they done? And Allah Ta'ala says, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يَكْفُرُونَ بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ. So the first bad thing that they have done is that they have denied the signs of Allah. So ذَلِكَ, this is because بِأَنَّهُمْ, because they have كَانُوا يَكْفُرُونَ بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ, that they have denied the signs of Allah. وَيَقْتُلُونَ الْأَنْبِيَاءَ, and they have killed the prophets. بِغَيْرِ حَقٍّ, without any truth, without any justice. ذَلِكَ بِمَا عَصَوْا, and all this disgrace and all of this anger is because they have disobeyed. وَكَانُوا يَعْتَدُونَ, and they have transgressed their limits. So now, there's two ways of looking at this ayah. One is that, okay, the Bani Israel, they didn't do less, right? One, they denied the signs of Allah. And the second thing, one cannot even imagine that they are killing the prophets, right? People who come and who give them the light, who tell them what is right, what is wrong, and who are doing a favor to them. And what do? They kill them. This is huge. How do you kill prophets? And in the Tafseer, the Mufassirin have said that the people who used to kill these prophets were not ordinary killers, or they were not, those criminal types of people. Who were these people who used to kill the prophets? They were the scholars of Bani Israel. Allahu Akbar. Why would the scholars kill the prophets? And the scholars would say that we are the leaders of the Ummah. We are the leaders of the Bani Israel. Now these prophets are coming and saying that they have, they have wahi from Allah and they have the books of Allah. And because now there's something who's above them and they could not stand that we will be below in status from somebody else. And because of that, they used to kill the prophets. So Allah Ta'ala says that, this is why we did this. This is why the Jews were disgraced. And this is why the Jews had the anger of Allah. And the third thing, they had misery, right? Financial problems, could not meet their ends. But there's another message in this. And that is that whoever is going to commit sins, ذَلِكَ بِمَا عَصَوْا. This is the last part of the ayah. Allah has disgraced them. Allah is angry with them. Allah has given them misery. Why? Because they have disobeyed. So this disobedience of Allah brings you these three things. Disgrace, Allah's anger, and the third thing is misery, right? These are the three things Allah has mentioned. وَكَانُوا يَعْتَدُونَ. And they have crossed the limits. They have transgressed the limits. So this is a situation that whenever you commit sins, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishes you. Now, this is not the only ayah that mentions this. The punishment for committing sins is mentioned in the Quran at different times in different ways. So Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhan nas, innama baghyukum ala anfusikum. That, O people, your disobedience is on you. You will be responsible for your disobedience. And in another ayah, Allah Ta'ala says, Man ya'mal su. Whoever does wrong, ay yujza bihi, will be punished. So that means there's punishment for committing sins. Is this punishment only for the akhirah? This disgrace, this misery? And the scholars have said that there are ayahs of the Quran that mention that you will be punished in this world as well. There's two types of sins. One are the sins that are related to the rights of Allah. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you that you have to pray 5 times. You don't pray. You've committed a sin, but you've not infringed the rights of any human being. What you've done is you've not fulfilled the rights of Allah. If Allah has told you that you should go for Hajj, and you have the money to go for Hajj, and you're not going for Hajj, now you've committed a sin. But what have you done? You've not fulfilled a right of Allah, right? Then there are some sins that are the rights of people, that you commit sin, but those sins are related to the rights of people. For example, if Allah is telling you that you have to listen to what your parents say, you have to obey your parents. Now when you disobey your parents, you've committed a sin, but what have you not fulfilled? The rights of your parents, or rights of people around you. So those sins that you commit, which are not fulfilling the rights of people around you, these are the sins for which you will be punished in this world. And those sins that you commit, which are disobedience to Allah, in a way that you are not fulfilling the rights of Allah, they will be forgiven easily, and the punishment can be delayed also. How do we know this? Is there a sound proof that this is how the case is? And this is what the case is. In Tirmidhi, the Prophet ﷺ, it's a hadith of Tirmidhi, the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever gives trouble, whoever gives a loss to others, Allah is going to give him a loss, right? So that means whoever is not fulfilling the rights of others, whoever is giving trouble to others, Allah is going to give him trouble. That means Allah is going to punish him in this world. And whoever makes life difficult for others, Allah is going to make life difficult for him. So that means those sins that are related to other people, they will be punished very soon in this world. Then in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that there are two sins that will be punished in this world and in the akhirah. One is the disobedience of parents. So when you disobey your parents, there will be some sort of punishment that you will get in this world. And the second one is when you show arrogance towards others. Now, both these sins, what are they related to? They are related to people. So those sins that you do, in which sins that you do not fulfill the rights of others, or you give trouble to others, or you make life difficult for others, that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishes you in this world. Now, Mujahid ibn Aus is a very big mufassir of the Quran, rahimahullah, very big shaykh of his time, and he's also a very big muhaddis. So a person who is an expert in tafseer and an expert in hadith, a very big scholar of his time. He says, it has been my experience of life, many years of experience, and I can tell you that the day that I commit any sin, I see it with my own eyes, that either my wife disobeys me, or my child disobeys me, or my servant disobeys me, or the animal that I use for transport, that animal disobeys me. So now in those times, the transportation was not on cars. People used to use camel and horses for transportation. So he says that whenever I would commit sins, I would get punished that same very day, right? So it happens when you infringe or when you do not fulfill the rights of other people, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishes you in this world. So that is why there's two ways of thinking about this. One is that I'll get punished if I do not fulfill the rights of others, if I cheat on others, or if I, disobey others, if I don't show that love that I have to show to my parents, to my wife, to my children, whatever the rights are of other people, if I don't fulfill them, I will get punished. But there's another way of looking at this, that if other people are not fulfilling my rights, I don't have to scream and I don't have to shout. Allah is going to take care of it. Allah is saying that whoever gives trouble to others, Allah is going to give him trouble. Whoever is going to give loss to others, Allah is going to give loss to him. Whoever is going to make life difficult for others, Allah is going to make life difficult for him. So if you think that somebody is not fulfilling your right, this also means that you don't have to scream also. You can just leave the matters on Allah. So this means that whenever you don't fulfill the rights of other people, Allah is going to punish you soon in this world. There's a story that I heard from my friend. He's personally involved in this story, so I mentioned this, to those people that I come across. And he says that there was a young man who was the only child of his parents, and the father. He moved from Karachi to another city, seeking to make his own business, to find another business, and he was left with his mother in Karachi. And then it was those times when, phones were not even invented yet, or they had not arrived in Pakistan yet. And the father, he was in another city, and the mother and the child were in this city. And the child was actually a young man, he was an old man. I mean, he was not like a young boy. He was in his 20s maybe, or maybe even early 30s. He realized that the house is very big, and maybe if I sell this house, I'll get a lot of money. And he was so greedy. What he did was he wrote a letter to his mother, and he wrote as if it was the letter from his father. And that letter said that I am your husband, and my business is now well settled in this whatever city that I am, and you should sell the house, and both you and the son, you can come and move in with me in the city that I am living in. And he sent a letter to his mother. He himself wrote that letter, right? So he deceived his mother, tricked his mother, and he sent a similar letter to himself. And then when he came home, the mother said, oh, I've received a letter from your father, and he said that the business is now well settled. We can now leave Karachi and we can go to whatever city that he's living in. And we have to sell the house also. He said, oh yes, I received the same letter from my father. And he showed that letter. So the mom was convinced that now we have to sell the house. So what they did was, they sold the house, and they earned a lot of, it was a lot of money, it was a big amount. And now they were on the train station. He left his mother on the train station, robbed the mother of all the cash, and left. The mother thought that my child is gone somewhere. And when he did not come back after a long time, she started weeping and she started asking other people that my child was here and my son was here and this and that. And people were, looking for that man, and they could not find him for hours. Finally, one old man who understood matters, he asked her, did he take all the money? She said, yeah, he had all the money. He said, you know what? Your son robbed you. And he's left, he's not going to come. So this is what the situation is. You should understand this. And he said, okay, if this is what the situation is, that he has robbed his own mom and left this old woman sitting on the train station. If this is what he is, then he's not going to eat anything good from this money that he has. He's going to eat filth. This is what the mom said. And then finally she left and she united with the father, right? She went back to the city in which the father was. My friend who told me this incident, he said that he is personally involved in this. That it is, the person who robbed the mother, he knew this man. He said, our friends, we saw this man after many years. And there's a bridge, it's called the Bridge of Lasbela, the area in Karachi, outside of Karachi. He said, we saw this man under the bridge, and he did not even have full clothes on. He was almost naked, this man. And we saw him that he was eating filth underneath that bridge. He had come to that point. So when you do not fulfill the rights of people, then the punishment of Allah comes very soon. And the rights of Allah, Allah forgives you. If you do some, if you do some laxity, if you're relaxed in worshipping Allah, Allah Ta'ala gives you time. But this, not fulfilling the rights of others, creating trouble for others, giving loss to others, and the first thing is, giving somebody tough time and playing with their hearts and with their emotions. All these things, or being angry on others, all these things have repercussions, and they are immediate repercussions. So there's two types of reactions. One is reaction which comes immediately, and one is a reaction that comes after a long time. So when you do not fulfill the rights of others, the reaction comes late. When you do not fulfill the rights of, when you do not fulfill the rights of Allah, the reaction comes back late. And when you do not fulfill the rights of people, the reaction is faster. Sometimes Allah is angry at you. He's unhappy with you, but the person does not realize it. The Prophet ﷺ said that there was a very big scholar of Bani Israel, and he committed a very big sin. Now, because he was a scholar, and he said that the sins, they will be punished either in this world or in the akhirah. And because he had done a very big sin, he thought that the punishment is going to come. And he saw that all the favors that Allah had given him and all the gifts that he had from Allah are there, and nothing has happened to him. And many, many months have passed, and now he had committed this big sin. So after some time, some months, finally he made dua to Allah that, oh Allah, you are so merciful that I committed such a big sin, and you have kept all the favors that you've given me in the same way that they were before. And as soon as he made this dua, Allah put in his heart, no, my servant, I have taken away something from you. And you didn't even realize it. When this came in his heart, then he started thinking about, okay, what has been taken away from me? And he started looking at all the favors that he had and all the things in his house and everything, and he could not find anything. Finally, he started thinking that why did this come to me in my heart? And finally, he realized that yes, from the day that I had committed this sin, every day I used to make dua at night in those times when Allah accepts the dua. And from that day onwards, I have not been able to make this dua. Allah has taken away this opportunity. So sometimes we don't even realize that Allah is unhappy with us, and we go on like this. So one of the signs that Allah is unhappy with you or with us is that when He takes away this honor of worshipping Allah. So if someday when you miss your Fajr prayers, it's time to think that what have I done? That Allah took away this honor of His worship. And this worshipping Allah is a very big honor. Why do I say it is a very big honor? Because it is a meeting with Allah. And meeting with the kings is always an honor, right? If the Prime Minister of the country says to you that I would like to meet with you, what are you going to think? You will say this is a huge honor. You will tell each and every friend of yours that the Prime Minister wants to meet me, right? So if a Prime Minister of a small country wants to meet you, if it's such a big honor, what about meeting with Allah? Just think how big of an honor is that. So this is a very huge honor. That is why sometimes Allah is unhappy and Allah takes away this honor of His meeting. And when Allah is happy with someone, then even though it seems like it is difficult to get this honor, Allah Ta'ala bestows that honor on you. So there was this man who used to live in the US. And he lived in the US for many years. And he told his nephew that every day I would wake up for Fajr prayers, and there are some birds in my area, they would come and they would make noise around Tahajjud time. And they would wake me up for Tahajjud. So I've been praying Tahajjud for many, many years, never missed my Tahajjud prayers. And then he came to Pakistan to meet all of his family. And he stayed at this person's house. And the next morning he came out and he said to his family, you know what? I thought there were some birds in my area in the US where I used to live who would, make noise and would wake me up. But similar birds were here in Karachi as well, who were waking me up. So it was not the birds. Allah was bestowing that honor on that person. So when Allah is happy, the road to worship is very open. And when Allah is unhappy, the road to worship is blocked. So when Allah is unhappy, Allah Ta'ala says, Allah gives you three things in this ayah, right? What are those three things? The first one is, ضُرِبَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الذِّلَّةُ. Allah gives you disgrace. People talk lowly of you. People think of you as a bad person. This is what disgrace is. And بِغَضَبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ. Allah is angry with you. The second thing is Allah is angry at you. And the third thing is ضُرِبَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَسْكَنَةُ. And Allah gives you misery. You're unhappy with life. Now the question is this: how to save oneself from sins and disgrace? One is self-accountability, right? One should think of himself that I can, sometimes some people have this in their head. No, I'm right. There's nothing wrong I can do. So one has to come out of this, that no, I can also be wrong. This is one thing that one has to do. But this is difficult. So the second thing is to go in the company of people who can do some accounting for you, who can tell you where you are wrong. Right? So the company of pious people, this company of pious people leads you to honor, leads you to honor in the eyes of Allah, respect in the eyes of Allah. So the more you stay in the company of pious people, the more you learn about your sins, the more you rectify yourself, and the more you'll be respected in the eyes of Allah. That is why there's this Shaykh by the name of Khwaja Abdul Malik Siddiqui, rahimahullah. He's a very big Shaykh of his time. And he used to be in the company of mashayikh, and he spent a lot of his time in the company of mashayikh. And although I've written this, I've forgotten the story, by the way. So I'll go to this next one, maybe I'll remember the story again. So Qari Tayyib rahimahullah was also a very big shaykh of his time. And he spent his time in the company of scholars and the company of a very big shaykh and all that. And people can see, and you become honorable in front of everyone. People respect you, people love you, and people shower their love on you. And why does this happen? It's not as if these scholars, they're forcing others to, to shower their love on them. It is Allah who gives them this honor. So those who commit sins, Allah gives them disgrace. And those who are fulfilling their rights, who are not committing sins, Allah puts love of these people in the hearts of others. So Qari Tayyib rahimahullah was a similar scholar. People used to love him. So once he was doing tawaf of the Kaaba, and a very big shaykh by the name of Ghulam Habib rahimahullah, Shaykh Ghulam Habib rahimahullah, he saw Qari Tayyib and he said, Qari Sahib, you know what? There's so much noor on your face and everybody just loves you around here. So how did you make such a face that there's so much noor? And his answer was, I did not make it. My shaykh made this face. In other words, I came in the company of this shaykh, of this pious man, and he taught me to stay away from sins. And because of the barakah of his company, I stayed away from sins, and that is why I have noor on my face, and that is why everybody respects me. It is not because of me. It is because of the shaykh. So now I remember the first story. In Khwaja Abdul Malik Siddiqui rahimahullah, he was also a very big shaykh of his time. And he went in the company of many mashayikh. And he was very, very, thirsty for ilm and thirsty for adab. And he was a very, very gentle person. And his life was such that he stayed away from sins in a very, very strong way. So he would sometimes travel on the train, and sometimes he would take his face out to see on the train station. And when he would take his face out, people would just gather to meet him, just unknown people. They would come, they would kiss his hand, somebody's going to kiss his forehead, and people will ask him to make dua, and everybody would just shower their love on this man. And he does not even know them. And how does this happen? And this happens because of the good deeds that you've done, because you've stayed away from sins. This is what happens. When you stay away from sins, Allah showers on you honor and status. And when you get involved in sins, then Allah promises misery for you and disgrace for you. So once, some Hindus, they looked at his face and they recited the kalama and they became Muslim. And other Hindus, they were very upset that how come you left your religion? And they said, okay, you come with us. Let me show you something. And they took these other Hindus and they said, look at this face. This face could not be a face of a liar. That is why we accepted Islam. So when somebody does good deeds, stays away from sin, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honors you. And when you involve yourself in sins and cannot get out of sins, then there's disgrace and misery. This is the main message of today's ayah. And I will stop here and I'll do the translation one more time. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Zuribat alayhimud dhilla, and disgrace has been stamped over them. Aynama thuqifu, wherever they are found, إِلَّا بِحَبْلٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ, unless they are saved through a source from Allah. وَحَبْلٍ مِّنَ النَّاسِ, and through a source from men. وَبَاءُوا بِغَضَبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ, and they have returned with anger from Allah. وَضُرِبَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَسْكَنَةُ, and misery has been stamped over them. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يَكْفُرُونَ بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ, and all this is because they used to deny the signs of Allah. وَيَقْتُلُونَ الْأَنْبِيَاءَ, and they used to kill the prophets unjustly. بِغَيْرِ حَقٍّ, unjustly. ذَلِكَ بِمَا عَصَوْا, and all this was because they disobeyed. وَكَانُوا يَعْتَدُونَ, and they transgressed their limits. So we'll stop here. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wastaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.